Hello, here comes a scenario where we have to use a VLOOKUP to actually combine these two tables here. We have this first table here, and we also have this second table here. So on this first table here, I have the names of the players, their age, the names of the players, their ages, and their teams. On the other end, I have the names of the players, their jersey sizes, and their shoe sizes. So you can actually check that these are two different tables. The only common thing here is actually the name. But I would actually want to combine this so that I can these two tables so that I can have one large record. So that's why down here you can actually check that I have the name, that's the names column. Then I have the age, the team, that's name, age, team. Then on this point here, there's no need for me to actually repeat the names because these names here are the same names that I add there. That's the names for the players. And then I add the jersey sizes, and then finally the shoe sizes, just like that. Now I would actually want us to use the VLOOKUP function to come up with the full records for the players. It's actually very simple. So remember, we have two tables here. I want us to use the VLOOKUP so that we can create a full record for the names of the players. That's the age, the teams, jersey sizes, and the shoe sizes. So first of all, I would actually want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel because if you follow this YouTube channel, you will actually get all the insights of in Excel. That's lookup functions. All the functions, we still have the statistical functions, we still have the math and trigonometry functions, but we just started with the VLOOKUP functions. So far we are actually progressing well, and I hope you will actually subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you can actually stay updated whenever I upload the videos. You can also follow me on my X account so that you can actually build one of the largest Excel platforms online. So after that is actually said and done, so let's actually get to the work straight away. So it's equivalent to VLOOKUP, just like that. Then you actually open the lookup value is actually my name there, which is actually on H18, comma. It will ask you for the table array. So I would actually want to have the age. So that age is actually on this first table. So I'll actually select the whole table like that. So I'm actually selecting starting from the name. Why from the name? Because that's where my lookup value is. So remember, the lookup value has to be on the first column of the table array, comma. Then it will ask you for the column index number. On this point, I'm actually returning the age, and the age is actually on column number 2 of my table array. Name is actually on column number 1, then age is actually on column number 2. So it's actually 2. Are you returning an approximate match or an exact match? I'm actually returning the exact match. So double click on exact match there, then you close the VLOOKUP function, hit enter on the keyboard. I have 20. So you can actually check that Victor has the age of 20, just like that. So that's it. Now you can actually check that it's actually 20. So I would actually want us to fill the ages first so that we can also go to the right. So let's actually go vertically so that we can also go horizontally. So let's actually start with going vertically. Allow me to actually fill this downwards, and you can actually check that by double clicking there. You'll actually realize that I have on this point 19. I have an error on this part. I have 25, and I also have 24. So let me actually double click on the second one so that you can see if there is an error. On this part, you'll actually realize that there's a small error. Why? Because in this point here, you will actually see that it has shifted from G11 to I16. G11 to I16. No, it was supposed to be G10 all the way to I15. So this is a small error which has to be adjusted. And on this part too, you can actually check that we are addressing on column number 2 of the table array, which is actually okay. We are still on column number 2, and we are still obtaining the exact match, which is actually false. And on this part here, let's actually see if there is a problem. Now you can actually check that we are on H20, yes, which is actually okay. G12 to I17, no, it's supposed to be G10 all the way to I15. Column number 2 of the table array, which is actually okay because you are actually dealing with age still. False because you are still obtaining the exact match. On this point 2, let me actually double click. Now you can actually check that it's H21. G13 to I18. So this table array here has to be locked, and you can actually check that we are dealing with H all the way from the first one there, which is Victor, all the way to Mark. So we are on column H up to the last one. So we can actually double click on this point too, and you can actually check that we are dealing with column H. So what you have to do is double click on the first one there where we add the first formula. Then we have to lock that H because that H is actually constant. Shift 4 to actually lock the H. We are not locking 18. Why are we not actually locking 18? Because when we come to this point here, it will be H19. On this point here, it will be H20. On this point 2, it will be H21. On this point 2, it will be H22, which will actually be the lookup value. So that H is constant and the row number is actually changing. So when the H is actually constant and the row number is actually changing, we have to lock that H and leave that 18 so that it can actually be shifting as we go downwards. On this point 2, you will actually realize that we will be referring to this table array, yes, all the way up to the last name, which is Mark. So we have to lock that table array so that it cannot be shifting. So to actually lock that table array, just press F4 on the keyboard, and that's okay. On this point, we are still dealing with column number 2 of the table array, which is okay in our case because we are actually dealing with the edge and we are still obtaining the exact matches. Hit enter on the keyboard and it's actually done. So double click on this point like that, which is actually okay. Now you can actually realize that I have 20 all through. Why? So let's actually double click so that you can check on the error. The error is because this dollar sign does not have to be there. So just erase that dollar sign so that in this point it will be H19, H20, H21, H22, all the way up to the last one, Mark. Enter on the keyboard, that's okay. So double click on this point now so that it can correct downwards, which is now very well done. On this point, I would also want to drag to the right so that we can fill all the remaining items. Now let's actually double click on the point where we have the team. So you can actually check that the lookup value is still a Victor, which is actually okay. And the table array is still intact. The only problem that we have is that we have actually returned the age instead of the team. So name is actually column 1 of the table array. Age is column 2. Team is actually column 3. So team is column 3. Then we are still obtaining the exact match, which is actually false. Hit enter on the keyboard, which is actually getting me Sharks. So Victor with the age of 20 is from the team Sharks. Now on this point here, double click again. Now the lookup value is actually Victor, which is actually okay. And the table array has actually shifted because we are now dealing with this table here. This table here has the jersey sizes and also has the shoe sizes. So we have to eliminate this table array and introduce this table array here. And after introducing that table array, you have to lock it. That's it. Now, the jersey sizes is actually on column number 2 of this table array. Name is actually column number 1, and this one is actually column number 2, which is actually the 2 that we have there. And we are still obtaining the exact matches. Hit enter on the keyboard, that's L. So Victor, jersey size is actually L. Now, what about the shoe size? So double click on that point again, H18, which is actually the lookup value, and the table array actually shifted. So remove that table array like that, then select this table array, then press F4 to actually lock that table array. So in this point, we are actually obtaining the shoe size, which is actually column number 3 of our table array. Name is column 1, jersey sizes is actually column 2, shoe size is actually column 3. So 3 and false because we are actually obtaining the exact match. Hit enter on the keyboard. So Victor, age is actually 20. You can check that. The team is actually Sharks. You can check on that. Jersey size is actually equivalent to L. Yes, check that. The name is Victor. The size is actually L, and the shoe size is also equivalent to 40. Now select the wall of that record like that, then fill downwards by using the bottom right handle there. So fill downwards like that. That's all, and that's it. So that's it now for the customer database. So let's now meet in the next video.